going back now. Tony clicked it.
This is where the nerves kick in. We freeze. Red lights on.
And then we're all just like freeze in place. Like
first time I was
it said freeze, stop. I'm just
first time I was ever able to start one of their shows instead of just sitting there watching it.
Yeah, you're used to sitting in the audience and waiting for them to start, and they had to wait for us to start.
Yeah.
You're watching the Beside the Point podcast live stream on the week of Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. It's the day of Valentine's Day. So thanks for watching and tuning in. We're fashionably late, but we're here, and we have two brothers that have some rock and roll royalty in their blood, and we wanted to talk to them about their dad, Ral Donner, who was a very famous, not very famous in the big picture, but famous to all of us, and
famous to a lot of people of that era.
Like, should have been way more famous. And we're going to talk about him with his two sons. We got Ral Jr. and Erik.
What's up, everybody? Hey, guys.
So,
happy Valentine's Day, ladies.
Thanks. Just ladies, though.
Just the ladies. Happy.
Yeah, the hell with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the last show of yours I ever go see.
Oh, We're
doing
that already. So we should warn people that we're going to be throwing. Tony's going to be the one throwing the jabs at everybody, verbal jabs.
Wow.
No, we're glad to have you guys on. We've been talking for some time about having you on, and I said, "What about your dad's birthday? He would have been what, 78 this week?"
Yep.
So we were like, let's put it on his birthday or the week of his birthday, and kind of celebrate his legacy a little bit, and then just have some fun and chit chat with you guys about your stuff that you guys are doing now or recently and all that sort of thing. So where do we want to start? Do we have any point we want to start off on the bat? I'll let you kind of.
Tony's going to his notes. This is going to be good. I hope you guys are awake.
Oh, we're going to the notes already.
I'm nervous. I want to know how much of this is legit.
I printed a biography of Ral Donner. It's 11 pages long.
Instead of just keeping it on a tablet, you decided to print.
It was easier for me to print.
He's old school.
Yeah, old school all the way.
But I was actually fascinated with everything I've read about your father.
If it's that long, then that's probably the right one. That's probably the good one that you want to read.
All right.
The one by Terry Wilson?
Yes.
Yeah, Terry Wilson. And I talked to Terry. If you're watching, shout out. I tried to get him on, but he wasn't feeling up to it. But yeah, that was very, very well written. There's a lot of meat on that bone.
Sure.
on this, when we'll share the link with that for sure. But there's a lot of little.
It was he did a well job of writing this stuff out. I was impressed by everything I read on here, from when he started at age 3 all the way till when he was finished after seeing him meeting with Elvis Presley. It's like, wow. And I think everybody knows the music. They just don't realize, they don't connect it to it. It's what I don't think they have. Because here's something I told my father. I had him listen to the song, You Don't Know What It's Like. He told me him and my mother used to dance to this song all the time on the radio.
Yeah, you don't know what you've got.
Yeah, all right, so I said the right.
He highlighted the questions, but he didn't enlarge the font.
I don't know songs that well.
The other one was the Bee Gees, or what?
No.
You don't know what it's like?
To love somebody?
That's Behind Blue Eyes. That's another man.
That's something else.
That's the Who.
Well, yeah, that definitely wasn't Bee Gees.
No,
Yeah.
and You Don't Know What You've Got is actually one of my favorite songs that you guys play. And Friday, we just happened to go and see Erik at Moretti's in Bartlett. And just as I was talking about Erik. Huh?
Continue.
Oh, and just as we were talking about that song, all of a sudden he started playing it. Oh.
See?
It was, like I said, I think that's actually my favorite song, but it's not.
Can I ask you a question?
Just play with my buttons.
As you're doing your buttons, I had a question for our two Donner boys here today. We appreciate you coming on. Do you feel like social media has made it easier for people to not only find your father's music, but also share stories or share memories? I mean, that had to have been huge for you guys in the last, 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's been a lot of that, like you said, the sharing of his music. And there have been a lot of people, when Ral and I post something, a lot of people go on there and they'll put up stories. I used to hang out with your dad back in the day. I saw him play here and there. It's really cool to connect with, some of the old friends and a lot of the old fans.
Yeah.
I mean, not only that, just a few years ago, speaking of sharing the music, and another point that isn't in that biography, but Robert Plant, all the Led Zeppelin fans out there, Robert Plant basically idolized the two main singers in his life were Elvis and our father, Ral Donner, and not necessarily in that order. He talks about our dad way more than he talks about Elvis, especially these days.
Yeah, he mentioned.
And so my point is that he literally on his Twitter account, he went up and posted a YouTube clip of one of our dad's biggest hits from back in the day, which is just mind blowing.
Yeah, that's a trip. Wow.
Yeah.
And sharing his music. So yeah, it's definitely been really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being at Trash Martini shows or acoustic shows and stuff like that, and there've been people that have not only been following you guys, but have memories of going to see your dad or buying his records or singles, and that's got to be just such a cool feeling to see somebody who's not only been following you guys, but following dad too. I mean, that's just such a huge compliment, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, every artist, I don't care who you are, Madonna, the biggest ones, they go from being huge and then, it trails off at some point, but then, it always comes back. So yeah, social media had a lot to do with it, with the fans being able to connect. They pass it down to their kids, but a lot of his famous fans, like Erik said, Robert Plant, John Lennon, Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols just wrote about him in his autobiography last year. I think it was last year, the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Slim Jim Phantom, drummer for the Stray Cats, just did an interview with Mark Goodman, the original or one of the original MTV VJs.
Yeah.
And he was telling people he's on whatever his show is, Little Steven's Garage, or I think it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot on Sirius XM.
Yep.
Because Mark's always doing the 80s stuff, and then he jumps on other stations too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's another thing. Yeah.
Slim Jim was telling people to call in. He's like, "You got to hear Ral Donner. I'll play whatever you want to hear." So I mean, that's huge as far as promotion goes. And even years ago, I remember getting royalty statements, a stack this big. And I mean, every country you could imagine is on there. Places like Saudi Arabia, places you'd never think in a million years. His records are being played now, and they are everywhere.
I remember hearing once you said like Australia, like just places where you're like, man, they have a totally different pop climate, but a song can make its way over there, even back then. I mean, that's just really cool.
I mean, he was huge here, but in England, he's still a huge. People message us all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very cool.
Absolutely.
And even with me, I bought stuff that some of his albums or CDs rather, and some of his 45s.
Yeah, you can go on eBay and find like the best of the collection of it's a compilation.
Yeah.
And me and Tony were actually talking on the way here, all these like bootlegs and like different versions of like somebody just made a greatest hits CD based on like just some in Japan or UK. Didn't you show it to these guys? And it was like, oh, that was from Japan or something.
Yeah, I showed it to both of them. I brought the CD and a couple of the CDs I bought, and they said it was a bootleg, but it still had the music on there. So it's like I still play those.
Yeah. Well, he's known as one of the most bootlegged artists of all time. Actually, There's been a million bootlegs.
Yeah.
I mean, people are clamoring for his music, and they really for new stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, not new stuff, but unreleased stuff, I should say.
That's what I saw was you go on eBay or even on Amazon or places where you can just buy music, and it was like all these greatest hits or, just,
Or how many times like an artist like him where singles were a big part of his rise.
that
like, was a B-side released in one country but not in the other, and then all of a sudden you have a whole country of fans that never got the B-side, so now they're looking for imports. That kind of stuff, not just with any artist back then.
Because you look at the history of like music and things, whatever, which we don't have time to get into all, but
not necessarily.
But the kind of justification for an album was all these singles and wanting to put them all on one thing. And did he put out a lot of albums, or he was a singles? I mean, he had a couple albums, but there's not as many as any another artist would have, perhaps.
Back then it was all about singles.
Right.
Yeah.
He came up in the early 60s when it was singles, and when the Beatles came along, and have obviously Elvis and everything else that was around at that time, he was recording singles and songs written by other people. Hey, here's a hit, here, record this song. They would throw it at you. Like,
he must have been on the road touring like crazy to promote whatever he was releasing at that point. It had to have been a lot of travel, I imagine.
Oh yeah, for sure. He did his very first tour with Tony Orlando.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there was more people on the tour, but I don't remember.
Without Dawn, just Tony Orlando, or was
that's before Dawn was born.
Right.
Yeah.
Dawn was just a glimmer in someone's
I don't know
eye.
if there's been multiple Dawns. Is he just walking around with a bottle of kitchen cleaner on a stand, and then he?
Now, was it a lot of artists on the same label that were traveling and playing different cities, day to day or week to week? I mean, it seems like from what my limited knowledge, that was the regular thing, where if you were on the same label, they would take their top 4, 5, 6 artists and put them on the road.
No, not with him.
No? Okay, so I want to hear.
No, it was the biggest stars. They didn't go by what label you're on. They went by who the biggest stars were.
Who was selling records? Okay,
right.
It's kind of who knew who too, I guess, too, right?
Yeah.
Probably like they ran into Tony Orlando, or he ran into Tony Orlando somewhere, or somebody from something, and word of mouth, and booking agent, whoever, said, "Hey, you should be on this tour," or stuff like that. Was that like something they were doing?
Well, yeah. I mean, back then, I can't tell you exactly how it worked, but I mean, whoever put these tours together, they went for the biggest stars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Tony, you got a question on there? I saw you were going over your notes.
Is there any other?
I was looking to see
nuggets?
who.
I wanted to go on through this. I'm sure you guys have seen this and checked through it already, but fact checked. I was like, is this true or not? Like, somebody wrote a biography. Is this real? Do you know if this is?
Well, like you said, there's so much stuff in that biography that it's incredible to read. Some of it almost doesn't seem real because he did so much, back then at such a young age too. So there's a lot of great stuff in there.
I had a question I never got to ask you guys before. How did it, or walk me through like what happened when, I know there was a TV movie for Elvis, and your dad was actually the one who recorded the vocals and did the music for it. Is there something
He does like the voiceover.
the voiceover.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard like bits and pieces of that from different people, but it sounded really interesting. I was just curious how that came to light.
well, he that's kind of funny too, because he was sick at the time. They called him to do the movie.
Okay.
He had done an album. They thought about doing a play. It was all Elvis's original musicians that he started with: Scotty Moore, DJ Fontana, and the Jordanaires.
Wow.
They came to him and they wanted to do like a tribute to their friend. You know what I mean? So the initial idea was for a play, and then they ended up changing it to a double album, which is it's set up as Elvis is there telling you his life story. Wow. And the soundtrack is clips of 50 songs, and it's amazing. It's the greatest thing ever done.
What was the name of that? There was a name of that, right?
Yeah, it was called 1935 to 1977. I've been away for a while now.
I've been away for, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
very cool.
Warner Brothers, heard that album, and then they called him to come and do the narration on This Is Elvis. I think it was like 1981.
Yeah. And how cool for them to get like an actual performer and like a well-known name to do it, and not just somebody that was only doing Elvis stuff. They got like a talented person to actually do that, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was known kind of as sounding like Elvis, but he was known for more than that. He wasn't just an Elvis impersonator. Or
Right.
something.
And it would have been so easy
He
for
was-
him to go and grab someone that just did that, but they got someone that had their own following and had a name and had recognition, and that's really cool. Very, very
Yeah, listen, anybody that calls him an Elvis impersonator is a nut job.
Right. Because that's
you
what I'm
know-
saying. He's another level above that as far as he's not
Put it
just
this way, Elvis was a Ralph Donner fan. And if
exactly.
you
Yep.
think in you know, like people like Robert Plant and those guys, they're not going to idolize, you know,
Impersonator.
they're going to idolize the real deal.
That's what I was going to bring up next, actually. I don't know if you guys have any insight into this, but I was wondering that too. Did Elvis get any of his style or any of his little inflection, like starting to do this certain way of
Were
singing?
they watching each other for style?
Because it wasn't that he was sounding like Elvis as much. They were around at the same time. So he and Elvis were doing the same thing together. You can listen to those earlier records that Elvis did, and he's a little higher register. Hey, that's all right, mama. And then he gets down here and he's like, oh, was he watching? Was he watching what Ral was doing? And was like, I'm going to sing.
No, I wouldn't say that. He was a big fan of his. Elvis had our dad's records on his jukebox at home.
Sure. So, yeah, how much of that is really,
Well,
it's like he was just the famous guy because he was Elvis, and so he took, but they had a similar sound.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like
competitiveness
one
and
or the other
with your contemporaries. That's really.
but
what
there's still a huge difference. I mean, his first hit record was an Elvis song. He went in and did a demo, the one Elvis tune, and let's see, Ray Charles, and then I forget what else. I think there was a Conway Twitty tune he did on there, and the record company heard it. And Elvis's version wasn't released as a single. It was on the Elvis's Back album, the first album he did when he got out of the Army. And it was just an album track, you know? So they wanted our dad to record it, and he said no. You know, he said it's an Elvis song. Nobody had touched an Elvis song up until our dad, I should say, recorded that. It was like taboo. Nobody would touch it. They were afraid. You know what I mean? He didn't want to do it because he said, hey, I'm here to make my own name. I'm not here to do anybody else's songs. But when you're 18 years old and your record company is, let's just say, as connected as you get in New York, you do what they say.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be his biggest hit. And when you listen to His Girl and My Best Friend and Elvis's, I mean, they said that Elvis was so hung up on his version, he used to play it over and over and over and over again. So, I mean, that just goes to show you how great it was right there. That the original guy who did the song loved yours so much, you know, I mean.
Yeah, he's probably thinking, man,
says it all.
that's what I was going for. That's how I should have done it. He's like kind of doing that, you know, musician thing in his head. Like, man, I did it this much, like 78%, but he nailed it, you know, kind of a thing where he's got that going on his head. Where he's
there's always one version that'll stand out when you get a song that's performed by
like when somebody writes a song and then Rod Stewart or somebody sings and they're like, man, that's what I was going for.
Well,
but
look at all the songs Dylan recorded, and then other
Bob
people
Dylan,
take the ball and run with it.
Or,
right.
We were talking
Actually,
about.
also, sorry to interrupt. Another thing on that song, though, on "Girl, My Best Friend," was that, you know, like Ralph said, our dad's version of it ended up becoming a much bigger hit than Elvis's. I think they might have released as a single in the UK, but it wasn't even a big hit even over there.
Yeah, but I don't think that was until 1976.
Oh,
I just read that recently. I thought maybe it came out in the 60s, but
Time it really wasn't anything. But so the cool thing is, though, is that another great story about that song is just a few years back, 2015 or 2016. It was they took our dad's version, not Elvis's. They took our dad's version and used it in a major motion picture, a movie with Nicolas Cage and Willem Dafoe. It was called Dog Eat Dog, and they put our dad's version in the movie, and it was really, really cool. And that just goes to show, you know, they could have easily picked Elvis's version, but our dad's was so much better and such a big, you know, much bigger hit.
This was. I got it up on the screen.
Okay, really well.
While you're
All
pulling
you
that
young
up,
kids
people
out
pretty
there,
much can't
it's
stand
the
that.
opening scene of the movie, and they're in a strip joint. So
Well, it's about
not
8
allowed
minutes
to
in.
watch it.
Well, for the
Yeah,
adults out
right,
there,
yeah.
not for the kids out there. The adults out there. Hey, kids, want to watch a movie with it's a strip club scenes first?
just close your eyes and listen.
This is your grandfather, kids. Look at this. This is
I'm glad I watched it first before I showed it to my kids.
I think I literally did that exact thing. I think I put it on and said, all right, wait, close your eyes. And I said, listen.
Listen, but close your eyes.
Just picture
Yeah,
Big Brother Ral being like, keep your eyes closed.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Erik, don't look. Just listen.
Exactly.
I got it up on the screen right now. Gone Records. This guy started a record. I read up a little bit about this guy too. I didn't dig into it, but this guy just started his own record label, Gone Records. And then, 19 Elvis Presley music, because it was already recorded by Elvis. Everything Elvis did, he just had his like tag on it.
Well, you're
So-
listening. Colonel Parker was a genius.
Yeah, right.
And, he said, if you want Elvis to record your song, he gets half the publishing.
Yep.
So if you wrote a huge hit and you wanted Elvis to record it, you had to give up half your money, or Colonel Parker wouldn't let him do it.
Probably one of the only artists to ever have. I mean, he didn't really write a lick of any song. He did a little bit of things, but he's got his credit, songwriting credit on everything. Anything he ever sang, they just grabbed it and put it in his catalog.
I saw a question just pop up, guys, and I wanted to ask you because I think it's a great question. Was there an artist that you recall your dad being able to tour with, or maybe like a favorite artist that he was able to tour with, someone that he really enjoyed performing with?
So that was this week, February 17th, 1961 was when that song came out.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
But go ahead, yeah.
That is cool. Yeah, I mean, there were a ton of them. Jackie Wilson was a huge one, Ral, right?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, we've got one of Jackie Wilson's shirts.
That's awesome.
And it's monogrammed with a JW on it.
Very cool.
Oh, wow.
Everybody knows Jackie Wilson on stage. He's known as being, a mover and a great dancer, and you know what I mean? So he'd really work up a sweat. So when he'd come off stage, he'd rip his shirt off, And so when my dad did shows with him, I think it was the Paramount Theater in New York, I believe. He was young. I think he was like 15 at the time, around there. But, it's amazing because our dad did amazing things before he even had a hit record. I mean, he played with Jerry Lee Lewis and Chuck Berry and Jackie Wilson, before he even had a hit. It was unbelievable. Sammy Davis Jr. is the one that basically discovered him here in Chicago.
Yep.
But anyway, so Jackie comes off stage and whipped off his shirt, and, our dad idolized this guy. He said, "Hey, man, can I have that?" And he said, "Yeah, sure, kid. Here you go." And Erik and I just found it when we emptied out our grandfather's house. Was it 10 years ago or so?
Oh, that's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Sammy Davis Jr.
was another huge one that he played with back in the day. We've got pictures of them. You can actually see it on the Ral Donner Facebook page. If you go on there, there's tons of great pics of him. The pics, like Ral said, about when he played with Chuck Berry, with Jerry Lee Lewis. But really cool. And with Dion is that, when you the old photo booths, and they brought them back now, they're digital. But the old booth, back then you probably put in like a nickel or a dime, and you get in the booth and take 4 pictures, and you wait, it develops, and they come out, they're black and white. So him and our dad and Dion went in there, and they're taking shots, and I'd imagine they probably had a couple drinks in them because they were kind of being goofy. You can tell they were having a blast, and they went in and took the 4 shots and came out, and then they took the strip and they tore it in half, and Dion kept 2. He took the one half, and our dad kept the other, and we still have it to this day. You can see our half. We've never seen the other half that Dion has, but you can see those pictures on his Facebook page, and they're really cool.
Wow. Awesome. Just a really cool thing to,
here's the
to
Facebook
hang on
page.
to. Wow.
Yeah, so
But I mean, he looked up to a lot of the people he toured with. I mean, B.B. King, Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Drifters. I mean, these are all artists that he loved. Roy Orbison, Gene Pitney.
There's a show poster right there. You can see our dad's on the same bill with Sam Cooke, Dion.
There you go.
Yeah, Gladys Knight, you just said, B.B. King, all of the Drifters. So,
Everly Brothers.
I've heard you do some Sam Cooke in your sets, and that's so cool.
We always do. He's always been one of my favorites. Erik, too.
Yeah.
Every night.
I mean, his voice is just amazing. And if you listen to early Rod Stewart, he was trying to be Sam Cooke, and he sounded a lot like him.
Yep.
When he first started.
Totally.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, we talk a lot about Elvis, but there's so many other great artists, obviously, from that era. He kind of outshined a lot of people, and it's like you got Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson. You were just talking about. There's so many awesome singers and performers of that era. I mean, it's just such a big era
It
for
holds up
Dion
really
and the
well.
Belmonts
Yeah.
and everybody on that. I mean, everybody on this list is like a solid, in my eyes anyway. Dion and D. Clark, BB King has had his own thing. The Drifters. I mean, I would love to go back in time and go to that concert.
I was going to say, that's a pretty sweet lineup, man, to be
That's a
can you
sweet
imagine?
concert.
And I mean, other people too. I mean, he played with Buddy Holly. They were on the same bill. Like I said, Tony Orlando. And you mentioned Tony Orlando and Dawn. Dawn were the two backup singers.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the one girl was Malona from Good Times in the 70s too.
Yeah.
There's a little trivia for you.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
When he went with Chuck Berry, that was at the Chicago Civic Opera House in
Yeah.
1958.
So yeah, he played with Chuck Berry. You said that, when he
15 years old.
Yeah. Can you imagine 15 years old and seeing all these people that were great rock stars at that time?
Yeah, and there was even more of a mystique back then because it wasn't like they were all over the place. You'd see them maybe on television.
Yes.
And you'd hear them on singles and on the radio.
Right.
So for a 15-year-old to be around them and hold his own, pretty impressive.
Right.
Oh, he did the Apollo Theater.
Wow.
Okay, so yeah, he was jumping on stage and all these people. So he's like 15, and all these people are seeing him perform, and
Yeah.
they're like
Right.
blown away
And
by
making an impression,
Yeah.
and not just fading away.
This
but actually,
15-year-old kid
this guy was sticking in their mind as an entertainer.
Yep.
Well, the Apollo Theater is a pretty legendary thing because he was playing a place. He started in like 57. He went to Taft High School here in Chicago. He was doing, the high school dances, whatever. Then he started playing a couple clubs, doing matinee shows. So one of them, there was a famous supper club downtown Chicago called the Shapery. And he was playing there doing the matinee shows, and they used to have the big stars come and play at night. So Sammy Davis Jr. was playing the one weekend, and he came in early and caught his matinee show and loved him and said, "Man, you got to come with me. People need to see you." So he got him on the Steve Allen TV show. You got some other
show. That was a really big show.
I was digging around trying to find like a clip or something to that, and it was like it's hard to find any. It's really hard to find any like video. There's a lot of YouTube out there, but it's like a still shot of him doing
Steve
a concert.
Allen, that's a big deal. That's a
I was
real
trying to
big
find some good video
That was
footage.
April of 1958 because Red Fox was there, Steve Allen.
Oh my God! You know what? I'm glad you said that. I forgot one of my all-time favorites, Sanford and Son. That's right.
Yeah, Red Fox.
He played the Apollo Theater with Red Fox.
Yeah.
That is so.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And listen, at that time, white performers did not play the Apollo Theater.
No,
That just didn't happen.
No,
that's insane for him to be playing at the Apollo at 15 years old or whatever age he was, and at that time of our lives of our history of our our country here. Wow. So, yeah.
Well, Sammy Davis got him in there.
Right.
And he went up and he brought the house down. And when he walked off stage, and it's I've even got clips. Irv Kumpson used to write for the Sun-Times. We still got the clips. When he walked off stage, Sammy Davis looked at him and said, "Kid, you just fought World War III and won." Because Buddy Holly was the only other white performer to play there. And it was like the year before him.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, I read this article and it tells all this stuff, and it's like to see somebody this young doing all these things that nobody ever did was amazing.
Does it make you regret not doing more when you were young, Tony?
What I did, you don't want to know about.
Okay, all right, that's for another podcast. That got very dark.
Oh yeah, we're not.
The jacket's got a dark side.
The jacket's got a dark side.
The inside of the jacket is very. It's got a dark lining.
Okay, we're talking about old and young. Made me think of another question. You're both proud parents, and I have to ask: do you see the music bug or the music gene in your children? Do you see that starting to sprinkle or sprout as they get older?
Oh yeah,
From the time they were are kind of starting to get there. They're taking a little bit, but Ral's kids right off the bat.
Right.
His first two boys. I mean, from birth, they were both drummers, and now they're guitar players.
Yeah.
Bass players. They do it all. I mean, they're
see what you can accomplish when you lock your kids in their room and won't let them out.
But no, it's cool to hear. I mean, the enthusiasm you guys have when you're talking about your father. And then obviously your kids growing up in a house full of music is really cool. You know, that's something that not everybody can experience. So it's nice to see that they're kind of drawn to the same things you guys are drawn to as kids.
And even on when Erik was doing the live broadcast during the COVID, his daughters were chiming in too on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
They all of them, they did a great job on it.
Well,
If one of them makes it, then they can take care of us for the rest of our lives. So we're
That's
good.
right.
So you just gotta, you know what I mean? Just keep popping them out, and eventually one of them's gonna get
You're just playing the odds, guys. I love it. That's great. Just keep having them and see what happens.
That's all you can do.
But here, you know what? Going back to your question about the Elvis thing, you know, if Elvis took anything from him, there was one thing he did, and that was his big logo, taking care of business, TCB. Everybody knows. I mean, that's Elvis's, you know, thing. But our dad's first album that had all his hits on it, as a matter of fact, it was one of the only albums back then. It may have been the first one. I mean, even when we were kids, you buy a Motley Crue album, there's 8 songs on it. You know what I mean? That's how albums were. You get 8, 9 songs, 10 if you're lucky. He had 14 tracks. He had so much good material. They stuffed 14 tracks on the album, and that was called Taking Care of Business. That's the original.
That's so cool.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and that's about 8 years before Elvis used it.
Right.
That is so cool. I also wanted to ask you a question too. When he started to appear on American Bandstand, I know that was something as well that you guys have mentioned just in our conversations over the years. But do you remember when he started on there, or what the first song was that brought him to that opportunity, or anything like that?
I want to say "Girl and My Best Friend," right, Rel?
Okay.
Yeah, he was on American Bandstand 4 times.
Four
4
times.
times.
There's not a lot of people that can say that. Yeah, that's really something.
Right.
And you see, you know, you talk about you can't find the video. A bunch of, you know, they archive those shows on something called kinescopes, and somebody stole a ton of them. So of course, all 4 of our dad's appearances were stolen.
Mm-hmm.
But I talked to the people at Dick Clark Productions, and they said they thought they knew who had them, and they were trying to get them back. That was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now.
Was it?
I had to get a hold of them again, see if they ever found them.
Would have been when the show was in Philadelphia, correct?
Right.
Okay, yeah, before, because I know the later shows I remember even watching when they had limited like reruns and stuff. They relocated it to LA, but I know the earlier shows were in Philadelphia, and that was cool too, because you had a lot of R&B, you had a lot of soul, you had a lot of those acts, and that whole Philly sound is so synonymous with the 60s. So that's really cool.
Right.
I think I see Tony going over some highlighted questions here.
Yeah, you finding another.
He's
They're not really
researching.
questions. It's just stuff I highlighted.
Can you think of questions from the highlighted notes you have there?
Well, we were talking about the high school he went to and stuff a little while ago. There's something that I wanted to mention that hasn't, I don't think, been mentioned yet. I just had to step away and fix a camera, but
Of course you did.
fix a camera. No, the connection to Ral with Grease,
Mhm.
the musical, like he was kind of based on, or one of the characters in Grease was like based on him, or the guy who wrote it went to high school with Ral. I think is
Yeah. Jim Jacobs went to Taft High School with our dad. They played on the same Little League team, didn't they, Ral? They were on the same
They may
team.
have, yeah. I don't remember.
So Jim Jacobs, went to Taft. It was they were there together in the late 50s, and he how many years later in the 70s he ends up writing the play Grease. Obviously, before the movie was made, it was originally a play, and he based it on his life growing up in the late 50s. Around that time, that era at Taft High School, and he was quoted later on, years later after the movie had come out. They were talking about it, and he was quoted as saying, the dance scene where they're at the high school dance and the band comes and plays, they're filming it on TV, it's live. The band, the fictional band is called Johnny Casino and the Gamblers, and in the movie it was played by Sha Na Na. Okay, he was quoted, Jim Jacobs was quoted as saying, I based Johnny Casino. It was basically based on Ral Donner. Ral used to play all the high school dances. His band would always play. He said, and he was so great. He said, so basically Johnny Casino is Ral Donner. He's based on Ral Donner. So next time you kids watch that movie Grease, you see Johnny Casino.
That's playing the man. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a leap to make the assumption that your father is responsible for a lot of teenage pregnancies by performing at all those dances. There's probably a lot of people alive right now that owe their being to two hopped up kids that are, a little frisky at the dance, and they're hearing the right music from the right guy. Or maybe the guy on stage winks at a girl in the crowd and she grabs her boyfriend and they go back to whatever. So all of that can be credited to your father, which is like the best compliment ever if you think about it.
Yeah. It's too bad they didn't have speakers in the back seats back then.
Wow.
Oh, wow, man. That's funny. Yeah, because talk about raunchy stuff. That original version of Grease that was played, it was at Kingston Mines or something. Was the first place they performed it. I was reading up on it, and then I realized that it was pretty dirty, pretty
Right.
It was more adult oriented. It was like, crazy high school kids and getting pregnant in the back of cars and things, and there was a lot more stuff to it. They cleaned that up pretty well for when it turned into a movie, and they have John Travolta.
One of the most iconic movies of all time.
Yeah, but that place, that the birth of Grease started in Chicago in another form, and somebody caught it, and they're like, we got to bring this to Broadway. Oh my God, this is great.
Yeah, it all started at Taft High School with Jim Jacobs and Ral Donner. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So
the rest is history.
Again, for the kids out there listening and they want to know who Ral Donner is, that's.
I just love that there's comments popping up and somebody's like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so, and they shared a locker with Ral Donner in high school. So there's people texting, there's people messaging right now on the comment section here, and it's great because it's stuff that they'll have for the rest of their lives. They'll always have those memories. It's really cool.
Ah, that's great.
I love stuff.
That's great. Hey, we're taking questions from the gallery, right?
Yeah. Does anybody have a question they want to ask these guys?
Let me scroll through here.
Here we go. Shit, I wish I was on this earlier.
Hey, Rizzo, you're doing that without a net.
Because another thing to mention, is there anything else in here?
It was Margie's cousin that shared a locker.
Oh, that's so cool.
There you go.
Nice. Hi, Margie.
That's great.
And you guys obviously influenced. You didn't get to spend too much time with him not to make it take a dark turn or anything, but he passed away when he was 41. So you didn't get to spend too much time with him, but you both had just enough or a little bit of time with him. I remember, right?
Oh yeah.
As far as, influences, you guys both perform and do, a lot of old music, some of his music, Elvis, Beatles, all this, that influence obviously is there for sure in both of you. And there's, you guys have your own, childhoods and bands that you were into. You guys were both in a band. If we want to switch gears and talk about you guys, your endeavors for a minute with doing the Trash Martini and the other bands that you guys have done together and the other music that,
right,
influences all of us. It's great, this, classic old music and then the new music and how it all kind of melds together in our heads and our tastes in music. So
yeah, Erik, tell us more about that, just about how you started down your path with music.
Yeah.
And kind of how having a father that was well known maybe gave you opportunities or opened up doors for you, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, it got me out of a bunch of tickets, I'll tell you that much.
That's the best compliment ever.
I go to renew my license, I give it to him, come on, come to the front. That's right, I'll take care of you. All right, it works. It happens. But yeah, it was great. It was cool. Being kids, hearing them on the radio. I remember falling asleep in Mom and Dad's bedroom. And this was, I don't know, maybe 1982, something like that. And Dick Biondi was always in Chicago, but then he moved to New York doing his show out there. And when he came back to Chicago, he was actually on B96. And it was all top 40. They'd be playing, Van Halen and, the rest.
Yeah, before.
I'll never forget waking up and hearing this voice that I listen to every day coming out of the radio, coming from the living room. And it was the most surreal thing in the world. You know, I was what, 8, 9 years old, whatever. And sure enough, I walked out and there's Biondi sitting there. They're just talking. And just hearing somebody's voice like that you know, that you're so used to just coming out of a speaker, and then hearing it in person when you're a kid is just like mind blowing. It's like not real.
That's a hell of a voice to hear too. Like that's a voice you hear from another room and you know it right away.
I wasn't a kid. This was like 3-4 years ago. I'm a kid. I'm still a big kid. So I was a kid, I could say, but we were at a like Blackhawks event and they were, you know, the last few years talk about like, you know, up and there's a lot of excitement and they were doing events, and they've always done these like you go to a bar and they have the ice girls there and they're giving out free stuff. And they were out of tables. So me and Tony and another friend of ours, Marty, we're like, can we just like squeeze into a table somewhere? We're trying to figure this out, you know, pre-COVID, obviously. So we sit next to Gene Honda, who does the voice when you're at the stadium.
Oh, cool.
He's the announcer, and he does like, yeah, Chicago Blackhawks, and he does like he's got like a distinctive voice.
Yeah. Hey, that was pretty good, man.
And he sits down next. And
no effects, by the way. That's just
there was no reverb.
Yeah,
I don't have anything on the next one. And he also does the White Sox too. So it's like summertime he does White Sox, you know, wintertime he does, and he's got a pretty good gig. Or like the guy who does like the national anthem and stuff. I've been around him a few times, and it's jarring to hear his voice. But he's sitting, Gene Honda's sitting right next to me, like eating a sandwich, and he's talking in his voice, and he's got that, you know, voice. Like there he is in my Could you pass the ketchup? Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
Ketchup.
We've got some more questions coming in.
Absolutely.
Margie wanted to know if. Let's see if our dad ever went. Oh wait, our dad or Ral Jr. I'm not sure. She's probably asking about our dad. Did he ever go to an Elvis concert? Ral?
He did, yeah. He saw Elvis. Trying to think of where it was now. International Amphitheater, I believe. I was just talking to Aaron Jones about this.
Aaron just commented. Yeah.
International Amphitheater, 1957, with the gold suit. You know, his famous gold suit. Elvis is, you know,
Golden May.
A million people can't be wrong. Yeah. So he saw him there, and then I've actually got. Somewhere we've got a picture of him and everybody in Vegas at a table. He saw him in Vegas. I don't remember what year that was, though.
Is that like on the Facebook page, maybe too? I can pull it up there.
No. I that picture, we've got that packed away somewhere.
That's your personal stash. You don't let that out.
Yeah, and it comes in the cardboard frame with the flip top, and I guess that's what they did. Walked around, took pictures of the tables, and gave you the picture. But when Elvis was in town in the 70s, playing Chicago Stadium, he took my mom the first night, and then the next night he went with his buddies or whatever, and Elvis had his guys call in the house, and my mom answers the phone. And obviously there's no cell phones then. So Elvis was trying to get him to come to the show, come to the after party, but he was out. He missed it.
I had a question for the two of you, because all the years I've been seeing you guys perform and everything. I guess Ral, being the older brother, what instrument were you drawn towards as a kid? What did you go to first? And then I guess same question for Erik.
Well, first it was guitar. I used to beg my dad to teach me to play guitar.
Yep.
But my hands were too small. I was too little.
No jokes about that.
Yeah, they're still too small. But so then after he died, I kind of lost interest, whatever. I got guitars, but there was really nobody to teach me, and there was no YouTube back then.
Sure.
So I went to drums in 8th grade. So, and I used to air drum. In school, they make you write sentences. I must have written 500,000 sentences. I will not play drums in class.
He was the original Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
That's right. And the first song I ever learned air drumming was I Love It Loud from Kiss.
Nice.
And I'll never forget the first time I ever went
with an Erik Carr song. I love it. That's great.
Yeah. First time I ever went to Guitar Center, I sat down behind the kit and I actually played it. I was like, holy crap, it works. I played the song. I never touched drums before in my life. Then I was hammering my mom, like, come on, you got to give me a set.
But talk about a great
He's
decade.
a natural. Get
talk
him a
about
drum
a
set.
great decade for the two of them to grow up like watching rock music.
Yeah.
That was the
And hard
best.
rock. I mean, yeah, there were a million things on MTV you could look at or emulate and be inspired from. So that's
And
perfect.
I think that's why the 80s has such a pull, because it was
Yeah.
like this crossover. All these people that were around that, were listening to old music and new music, and you listen to the radio and that was the new stuff.
Yeah,
But
you
now
had
it's
visuals
it's
to
an
go
oldie.
along with it.
It's an
which was
oldie
huge.
now, but you had oldies and new stuff all converging on.
Sure.
And there was just so much to pull from, and all those people were still touring. Like Elvis was touring into the 70s, and just you have.
Eric, did you go to drums too, or were you drawn towards a different instrument first?
Yeah, well, for me it was drums. Rel got the kit, and yeah, that was it for me, man. I sat
Right.
down, just like he did. He was able to sit down and play, and somehow as a much younger kid, I was a much younger kid, might I add. I was
kids.
and play as well, 6, 7 years old,
Yeah.
and I was playing Kiss songs and Motley Crue and all that, which was crazy, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
That's
was
like
awesome.
such a
7
common
years old, he was
thing where
killing
the
it.
older brother plays an instrument, the younger brother wants to follow in their footsteps or keep up with them. That's cool.
Yeah, and then I kept playing, and I eventually, I became, again, Ral used to go see this band at the Thirsty Whale called Enough's Enough, and he introduced me to that band, and that was it for me, man. They
It's all
favorite
over.
band, and then years later, I ended up playing with their lead guitarist, Johnny Monaco, and then I ended up joining the band and touring all over with them. So I stuck to drums for a long time, and then later on started playing a little bit of guitar, and I'd been singing. As a kid, you sing and stuff like that, but I mainly focused on drums, and then I started really getting into singing much later. And then Ral and I started Trash Martini years later, and we did that for many years.
Was that the first band
Monaco
you
was
guys
in
were
that
in
too.
together?
What's that?
Was that the first band you guys were in together for a long period of time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we had done some stuff, like a couple shows here and there, like we've done some oldie shows with actually with some of our dad's old bandmates.
Oh, yeah.
So we've done some of that, but I mean, as far as a solid band that play consistently for years, Trash Martini was it. And Johnny Monaco was the original guitar player for that. He was in that band for years, and we had a lot of fun doing that.
As you three well know.
Yeah, right. That's probably when we met all you guys.
Right, yeah, because we were doing show, like I was the sound guy, whatever I was doing, working for the sound company, and then we're just happening to, we're gonna do Trash Martini, whatever is the band that I'm working with today, for a and then we started doing, some other events and weddings that you guys were involved in doing, and then got to know everybody, or like Johnny was in Almost Famous or whatever that band was called for a minute with
That was Trash.
Yeah, that was one of the he stepped aside, and because he was playing with Enough's Enough, and it was like a funny little tongue in cheek. Like I was almost like I'm always like rubbing elbows with. We were trying to see if we could get him on, but we never. I don't think we ever got.
I didn't hear it back, but I waited till the last minute. That's my fault.
Johnny, if you're out there watching, you're sorry you missed out on this fun conversation. But maybe we'll do this to do a redux and get him on here.
And I think when I started watching Trash Martini, I think Matt and Jet were in the band.
Yeah.
And
they came in, about 3 years into the band.
Yeah, I was blown away the first time I heard these guys play. What impressed me most is how Erik and Raul switched from playing the guitar and one going on to the drums after the other one got off.
Yeah.
I've never seen that done in any band before.
Definitely a unique concept of switching.
I like that you guys kept your set list pretty fresh. You didn't do the same ones over and over. And I thought it was cool because I saw shows with Monaco and then I saw it without, but it gave the two of you more opportunities to do lead vocals, which was fun because it changes the whole sound of the band and it changes the energy, and it's fun to see different lineups and stuff, but it always was centered around you guys and being able to switch off and play different instruments and both play drums and sound totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blast. I mean, when we first started, let's see, we all played keyboards. Well, Erik, myself, and Monaco all played keyboards and a couple different songs. Erik and I played drums. Just switching it up. And then later on with Jet and Matt, I mean, we did the same thing. I played bass on a couple songs. Jet would play guitar. He'd sing a song. Matt would sing a song.
Yeah, we had 4 lead singers. You know, everybody would kind of get a.
Yeah, and you guys did fun stuff on harmonies, and
Yeah.
there was always just a lot of energy with the band, which I thought was fun. For, you know, you go to see a band that plays covers, and sometimes you can tell it's the 38th time they've played that song in 3 months. And then you go see a band like Trash Martini, it's always fun. And the crowd gets into it. And I think that's why so many people like going out to those shows.
It was fun. And because both between Raul and Erik, because they were just happy to see you. It's like, they just made me want to come back and more and see the next show. And it's like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And there.
We had a blast.
Oh, it was great. Now, we just had a question. Somebody, Laura Brock wants to know the name of the band that Erik played the drums for in high school.
Oh,
Okay, explain that one now.
He just wiped his brow.
I noticed that. It's like, oops.
Let's preface this with Laura Brock is an old high school friend of Eric's.
Oh, okay.
The name of the band.
Nice job, Tony.
is it something we're allowed to say on television? Should I?
Erik still got his eyebrows raised.
We don't want to do too many inside jokes.
My first band was called Tongue in Cheek.
Oh, nice.
And my old friend named the band, and it was like a goopy spelling and it was almost like Guns N' Roses, Tongue in Cheek.
Oh,
Nice.
She I'm sure she was at a lot of those shows back in the high school days. She was there.
So, Erik, what was the band? Because I remember we always joked about this, but we were at the same concert like 10 years before we knew each other, or maybe 15 years before we knew each other. But there was a concert at House of Blues. Lit was the band playing because they were on probably their biggest tour at that point, and you were throwing your demo on stage or something. I remember.
Yeah, that's back when I was playing with Johnny Monaco.
Okay.
I think, and the band was called Low Tech at the time.
Okay.
And yeah, I brought a demo because I heard that the guys from Lit started their own label and they were signing bands.
There you go.
And I was a huge fan of Lit, loved them, went to every show, and I figured, what the hell, man? It's general admission. You can just try and work your way up to the stage. So I went all the way up and I tossed it to the singer in the middle of the show. And I'm still waiting for that phone call, man.
Just for the record, I know both of these guys are really talented drummers. They easily could have stepped in and elevated Lit's game. I know Lit.
You're not pointing at us. You're pointing at the guys that are.
Their original drummer passed away a while ago, so I'm a jerk for saying that. But no disrespect to the guy. You guys were super talented drummers. I felt like the drummer was the weakest link in that band. Just me personally.
Yeah, he was a very good guy, and he did pass away. I feel bad about that. He died very young.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, man, every time I love that band so much. Every time I was at a show or I'd be listening to the CD the whole time, I'm going, God, I need to be their drummer.
Yeah.
They need to just hire me.
No, I've been to 2 Lit shows and they're again, that's just a fun band that they had, they had their 15 minutes, but like they definitely were a band that seeing them live, you understood that they were just a lot of fun. It wasn't just 1 or 2 songs. Yeah.
We hung out with them at the House of Blues Hotel.
Nice.
One time they played. There's a story to go along with that, but maybe we'll save that because
edit that out.
Save that for the dirty. Like I said, we'll come back. We'll get Johnny Monaco on, and we'll do like an after hours.
We're gonna do a 20-second delay, and then if you guys say anything you want, we can just push a button.
No. This was before Trash Martini days.
Yeah.
But I mean, it involves somebody else. I don't know if they want us telling the story. So
well, there you go.
Right.
So you're being respectful. Yeah, you're
yeah. See, it's good. It's got nothing to do with the mud shark. I just want to make that.
Going back to an old question, I'm just trying to scroll through these here. Danny Burke, back to our dad. Danny Burke wanted to know who our dad's biggest influences were.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he grew up with our Uncle Ron. His older brother was 10 years older than him. So he, grew up listening to what his brother was listening to and, his father, which was, Russ Colombo and Al Jolson. He used to do Al Jolson impersonations when he was, 5 years old or so. Stuff like that. But the one that really got him was Sinatra. Sinatra was his favorite singer. But then rock and roll hit and it was all over.
Yeah.
You know, then it was
Yeah,
Elvis.
changed everything.
Yeah, you hear the crickets or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you talk about like the Jackie Wilsons and all that influence of all these other people that
Well,
came
just
around.
think
Yeah.
of all the people that you guys were mentioning earlier
Yeah.
with the Jackie Wilson and the Sam Cooks and Little Richard and just all those guys. That was the first wave. So, you know, the influences for all of them had to have been so different than like we're laughing and we're joking about Lit or Kiss or bands we grew up with. Like the menu was a lot smaller for somebody like Ral coming up.
Right.
And what was,
Oh yeah.
did anything sound like that? And really there wasn't a lot that sounded like that at all. It was, you know, the originality is what I think a lot of people respect.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Haley, I mean, what can you say? He changed the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
The rock
Well,
around-
Laura and Rachel want to know what our favorite songs are of our dads.
There you go. Yeah, that's a great question.
Oh, that's tough.
It's
That's
really tough.
There's so many.
I think I can speak for both of us. There's a song called "I Don't Need You." That's incredible. In fact, a little story about that is we talked about Robert Plant being such a huge fan of our dads. In fact, we both met him back in the day. Literally the year they got inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I met him first. Ral wasn't there the first time, and when I met him that first time, you know, we were talking about our dad's music and a bunch of songs, and he was telling me about his record collection. He's a huge vinyl collector, especially of our dad's, and he's got, you know, super rare issues of the vinyl, and I was really proud of. But the song "I Don't Need You," he literally was singing that song to me in his dressing room. I'm listening to Robert Plant sing this.
How cool is that, huh?
That's what life's all about, man. That's an experience. Wow.
Yeah.
And see, to all these clubs I play out there, the reason I didn't go to that show is because I had a show of my own that night. And I'm probably a complete idiot for not canceling the show and going to hang out with Robert Plant. But I was a good boy and went and did my job.
So then the following year, we went to go see Page and Plant. And this time, Ral did come with. It was at the United Center. And this time we actually got to meet Jimmy Page as well. But what did Ral actually he apologized to Robert Plant for missing the first time because he had to play a show. And what did Robert say to you?
I don't remember. Wait.
He said
You were having a good
"Oh,
time
on the spot."
Maybe next time we're in town, maybe I can come through and come to your show.
Yeah, he said, maybe next time I come through town, if you're playing, let me know. I'll come see your show.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just like dumbfounded. I mean, you know, I haven't gotten starstruck that many times in my life. I've met a bunch of famous people. But when you're standing there looking at Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, and it was the same with Dion. Those are the three people that I was just like, oh, I can't believe I'm standing looking at you right now.
Would you give up all the tickets you got out of, but to just like have more time with Robert Plant or have more of a, like have him come see your band?
Oh yeah.
Like that seems like more of a, like, you know, the cops and stuff, you're getting off on, okay, speeding ticket, whatever you get.
Yeah.
But
hey, listen, suspend my license.
like
Let's go.
To have that connection and like, oh, your dad is this guy. Let me like take you under my wing and like, you know, embrace. What are you doing? You're playing Kiss. Okay, let's go. Let's go see your band. You know, whatever. He's just interested in.
Well, we're talking about
hanging out with you. That's
celebrity
cool.
famous meetings, and I have to ask: can you tell us about your opportunity to meet George Wendt when you guys were at Soldier Field?
Dude, that was great, man. First of all, we're playing in the hallowed halls of Soldier Field.
I mean, that's enough. Again, that's enough right there.
For all the ex-Bears and all the bigwigs at Samsung. I think it was that the
Nike.
Samsung show or was it? Oh, Nike. Yeah, and Samsung was a whole different show.
Corporate event.
Yeah. But go ahead, Eric. Tell them about it.
Oh, so yeah, we got hired to do this corporate event. It was inside the halls of Soldier Field.
The concourse, yeah.
So basically, you know, like he said, it was for like the top 10, 20 bigwigs in Nike. They brought them out. They gave them all jerseys, all stuff. They're hanging out with the Bears players. And then we were the entertainment. But they hired George Wendt to do some comedy beforehand. And they had, you guys can see this on our pages of the Trash Martini page. We got a great picture. They put up a set, and it was the super fans from SNL, right? So it looks like the bar. They've got all the the bar food and the steins of beer. And so we asked George, when we talked to him, we asked him if he wouldn't mind taking a picture. So he sat in the middle. We got around him, and we all held up, and like we were on the SNL set, and we got like a picture with him. He was great.
Man, I wish I would have grown my mustache out more. Had a paste on one or something to do a super fans. Yeah, that's
I just
awesome.
remember I saw those guys at a show after they did that, and I got to say, like, they were like two kids on Christmas morning. Like that was such a cool thing for them. And they put the picture up on Facebook. I remember that. And I was just like, yep. I don't get to say this a lot, but I'm pretty jealous of you guys right now. That is pretty awesome.
I'm still blown away that Led Zeppelin wants to go to one of their shows.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tony, that hasn't happened to you yet? I mean, that's a shame.
I can't
Well,
see.
you know what? When we were backstage at the United Center, and we're talking to Plant, and he tells somebody, one of their people, and goes, "Hey, go get Jimmy. He's going to want to meet them." And I went, Eric and I looked at each other like, "Wait, what?"
Are we talking about the same Jimmy here? Yeah.
And actually, no, this is what happened. We're sitting there, we're talking to Robert, and then finally Jimmy Page starts walking up. Wasn't he pushing a stroller? He had like a
No, well, that's a joke. I said, "Man, in the 70s, he's walking in with, two girls on one arm and a bottle of Jack Daniels in the other." And he walked in, he had a stroller under one arm and like a bag under the other arm. It was
Diaper
funny.
bag.
There's no shame in carrying a diaper bag. There's no shame in that.
But yeah.
That's right.
So Jimmy walks up. We see him. Robert goes, Page, come here. And he pulls him over, and he looks at us and he goes, "These are Ral Donna's kids." And Jimmy Page, I swear to God, his eyes, he went,
Drops the diaper bag.
and grabbed our hands and went, "It's nice to meet you."
Yeah, it's an honor to meet you. I'm like, it's an honor to meet
Nice
us.
to meet you, Jimmy
Yeah.
Page.
Other way around. Right.
You know you're Jimmy Page, right?
Every day that guy wakes up and he knows he's Jimmy Page. It's so cool.
But you think I always go with the notion that those people are people too. Like they're our heroes and we love them, and like they have heroes too, and they probably appreciate it just as much. They're like, "Oh my God, I met Ral's kids," as we appreciate, like, holy shit.
Well, here, I mean, at this point, Jimmy Page has been Jimmy Page for over 50 years. I mean, since the Yardbirds, he's been the guy. Right. So for him to immediately be taken back to a point where he was just a kid listening to music and it's their dad, it's pretty cool.
That's where
that's pretty
the
cool.
Common
puts
thread.
him back into that,
We all
listening
had-
into in a room,
We all had a childhood. We all had, music that we liked. We all, appreciated some of the stuff we've mentioned already, like Kiss or Green Day or Beatles or other things that you guys were into when you were kids. That was not your dad's music, basically, but or Elvis or something that sounded like that. You evolved and had your own relationship with music and playing the drums and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot to,
there's still a lot more to go over. Guys, we apologize because we know it's Valentine's Day and I know you guys want to do things. We got stuff we got to do. We would love to have you back on. I know Joe and Tony were worried about this when they got here today. They're like, man, I don't think we're going to get to what we want to get to, but we'll try.
We're just scratching the surface, as they say on the radio.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to get back. Did we answer Danny Burke's question?
Yeah,
I
did
think
we
got
answer
off the
that?
rail there.
Yeah.
I don't need you. I mean, obviously his hits. Godfather is a song he wrote about the movie Godfather 1. That's one of my favorites. He sings the end in Italian. It's amazing. He wrote that one and released it in 74. My Heart Sings, Love and Place. I could go on and on. There's so many. Pray for Me.
He's one of those artists that you could go and start listening to his music. Thankfully he's on like Spotify and stuff. Like we said, he doesn't have a lot of YouTube presence, or there's some videos of people showing a picture and then they play the song, but he's got your greatest hits and a few compilations on Spotify. And to me, it's one of those things you just start listening to and you go, "Oh, there's another good song. There's another good song."
Yeah, an hour later,
and
you're still going.
It's hard to pick which one would be a favorite, or like, wow, this wasn't as big of a hit as that one. You do all that. But.
It's hard to pick a favorite because they're all so good. But like I said, the one I've got my own favorite that every time you guys play it, I love it, and it puts a big smile on my face. I'm not going to say the title because I don't remember it. I can never remember the titles of these songs.
You're talking about
I can see
By the way,
Tony's actually nervous
But
talking about this.
I even sing it in the car.
You hum along to it. Or
Are you talking about You Don't Know What You've Got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sing it in the car,
Yeah.
of course. I'm
By the
glad
way,
you guys
Ralph,
don't hear
I
that.
fact checked what I said earlier.
What's that?
I fact checked what I said earlier about you don't know what it's like. I said the
Yeah.
Bee Gees. It's the song To Love Somebody.
That's what I
right.
said. To love some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No. I was just singing a different one that had that line in it.
I was right.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey,
That's a good song, too.
watch the movie
By the way-
50-50, and they use that song, and it's a great sequence. It's kind of a downer movie till the end, but they play that Bee Gees song. It's like the weirdest song to pick for like a downer moment, but I laugh every time it's on.
Everybody at home, tell your Alexas. You can tell your Alexa to play Raul Donner too, and she'll play
Yep.
him.
There you go.
yeah, except it's
And
hard to get
somebody's-
Alexa to do it because you have to say "raw."
Raw.
I think she's getting better though. I think I might have said Raul one time. Yeah.
It's that Midwestern accent.
You're gonna call somebody got
Mine needs a hearing aid. I don't know.
called a Alexa corporate or whatever. It's Amazon. Corporate. You're pronouncing my dad's name wrong. Say it right. Yeah.
Well, thanks to everybody that tuned in on Facebook, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Guys, this was a huge success.
Oh, thank you.
We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
we're gonna have to have a part 2 on this thing just for everything going on.
Like I
Yeah.
said,
for
we
sure.
didn't even touch on like any of the stuff you guys have. We touched on it a little bit, but your guys' musical influences, and we all share so many. We crisscross so much with.
And anyone listening, like the Beside the Point podcast, because if you do have questions, and we're scheduling not just Eric and Raul, but anyone, if you have questions, you can let us know, and we can work it into the conversation. And we're happy to do that too.
So if you can, either if these guys ever play some of the older stuff together, go see the shows. I don't care what you're doing. Break everything off. Just go to the shows.
Cancel your
The
plans.
two
Send your
together,
kids to grandma's house.
the two together are amazing. And separate, you're not going to regret either seeing Raul or Eric or both of them together.
I
The
agree.
shows are amazing. The older ones they've done is fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you what. Everybody, go check out Eric's schedule on his Facebook page, Erik Donner. As far as I go right now, I'm just still live streaming from my Facebook page twice a week, Tuesdays at 9 and Thursdays at 8. I take requests live. Do whatever you want to hear.
Yeah, I mean,
Did some theme nights. Neil Diamond night went over huge. Elvis night went over huge. Other than that, it's whatever you want to hear. We'll do Sinatra. We'll do Motley Crue. We'll do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to put together a blog post too, and I have like all the links and stuff. So if you go to
Perfect.
people watching this, go to btppod.com. I'll have some links and stuff up there after we're done with doing this, but down the road. But if you go to our Facebook page, again, it's BTP Pod on Facebook. If you want to like our page, and you'll see more, interviews and, chats we've done with people. And yeah, go see Erik Donner on Facebook, and as well as Raul's page. And they have, like they said, they have some fun nights of, playing music and hanging out. So
All right, guys.
glad we could do this. We finally did it. So, we're raising a glass, or I'll raise my Purell because I don't have a
Raise the
drink,
Purell.
to Raul Donner Sr. and his legacy and his two beautiful children that that have graced us with their presence. So thanks again, guys, for hanging out with us.
There you go. There he is.
I love it. Look at that graphic.
It's the D. Vertucci.
Oh.
You did a little drop in with Raul Sear. That was great.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys.
I'll see you guys again soon too.
Yeah, we'll see you
All right,
around.
guys.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Take care.
Later.
No